This is the Great Legend, and I am coming at you live with another one of these DC's New 52 review. Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issues 5 through 8. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Frankenstein Agent of SHADE. Jeff freaking Lemire. Fans. You saw my first DC's New 52 review of Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issues 1 through 4. Oh man, they blew me away. This Jeff Lemire, this guy's pretty good. Pretty good. And Alberto Pantacielli, he make a good pizza, but he also draws a good comic books. I love this stuff. I love this book. Man, we got some great people in the comic book community that know their books, man. And when they know their books, they know their books. I'm talking about Travis, aka Odd Fellow's Thoughts. I'm putting him in the video description. He's the one who was talking me up on this book. Good book. This is the issues I'm talking about is issues 5 through 8. Just finished these. So we're going to talk about them. I'm going to give you my little insight on them. Now, mainly, a lot of times on these DC New 52 reviews, I'll go issues 1 through 12, even bonus issues of issue 0 and the annual, if the book has an annual. But this Frankenstein stuff, I'm kind of taking it more, I'm going more in-depth, and I'm not going to take too much of your time. So let's go ahead and get started with this issue here. Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issue number 5. Flawless. I love this cover. Check out this cover. We got a guy a lot of you may know. Of course, this says Frankenstein Agent of SHADE versus OMAC. And this is OMAC from DC's New 52. That series was an 8-issue series of DC's New 52. I'm guessing it didn't sell well because they shut it down after the 8th issue. Dan Didio was the writer for it. That had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do. He's a master. He's a master of writing. Dan Didio. How can I not go with naming my buddy Travis and Dan Didio in the same video? I can't. And Didio and video, it even rhymes. This is Frankenstein Agent of SHADE versus OMAC. Okay. Little bit about this issue. Just beautiful color. Mylar. Andrew, I know you love Mylar. It's here for you. Frankenstein Agent of SHADE. And he's versus OMAC here. Let me see. Is my picture? Is my face in the picture? I want to make sure my face is in the picture. This could be my preview pic. Okay. Great issue here. Okay, we just got out of the damn. Okay, we just got out of the War of the Worlds here. You know, Monster World. I think they were calling it. Great. You know, that was issue 1 through 4. This one picks up. Frank's back. I mean, actually, he hasn't gotten back. He's getting back, but you know what I mean. He's, you know, just got off a mission, and then the ant farm, the SHADE little base, is over Mount Rushmore. They're meeting with another kind of secret government agency company, and they want Frankenstein, or you know, the SHADE agents, to take out this problem they're having. The problem they're having, this guy right here, OMAC. So Frankenstein said, you know, they're looking at videos of OMAC, seeing what he's all about. He sees, this guy's going to be easy to take out. So they drop Frank over OMAC. You know, they've tracked OMAC. OMAC is in human form, but right when he drops down on the guy, boom, the human guy, he turns into OMAC, and the fight begins. This is a great, all-out, knockdown, in-your-face battle. Just fight. Hardcore, just awesome, just like a Thing versus Hulk match. It was all over the place, just fighting each other. Not going to go too much into detail about the fight. I mean, this pretty much all it was a big fight. But who doesn't love a big fight? I know some people out there love to see superheroes get their ass beat. William Thorg, he loves to see a superhero get his ass beat. Well, Frank got his ass beat in this one. Or at least I thought he did. You know, they did trade blows back and forth. I don't want to make it all one-sided for OMAC or anything. Great fight, though. At the end, during the fight, Frankenstein is trying to find a weakness to OMAC. He cannot find one. He can't figure out why, you know, S.H.A.D E can't get the information on OMAC. And, you know, it's like something is protecting OMAC during this fight. And, of course, if you know the old school OMAC stories, which I haven't read any yet, but there's something called Brother Eye that's, you know, always watching over OMAC. Brother Eye. So during this big fight, they're just going around, you know, there's no way to stop it. But during the fight, what happens is Brother Eye is trying to infiltrate S.H.A.D E via their computer networks and stuff like that. It's trying to get into the network. But what happens is Ray Palmer sends all these little nano-type bot things. And he's the scientist from issues 1 through 4. I don't know if I dropped his name, but his name's Ray Palmer. Really good sub-character, supporting characters, good scientist. He leads a lot of these little nanobots to stop Brother Eye. So once he stops Brother Eye, Brother Eye's done, OMAC is about to get his, I think it was his head chopped off. Yeah, I'm thinking Frankenstein had his mohawk, and he was fixing to cut him down with a sword. And all of a sudden, this was crazy but kind of cool. OMAC teleports out of there, but as he's teleporting out, he rips off Frankenstein's like left arm, and like Frankenstein's just like got one arm, and that was the end of the issue. Pretty much, we don't know why Brother Eye was attacking, you know, or trying to get into S.H.A.D E. We don't know why. So yeah, Frankenstein's got no arm. So, you know, he goes back and they get, you know, with all the DNA and stuff, they regrow him another arm, and, you know, all's good. So, I really loved this issue. Oh, the art was phenomenal. I love the art in this book. Oh, my God. I'm reading this book and I'm, like, so mad that they're going to be canceling it. But this is a great, great book. I will be posting the links to mycomicshop.com. So if you want to get these issues, go to mycomicshop.com today, and you'll be able to get these issues. Also, I'll leave the link for the trade paperback, and that contains issues, I think it's issues 1 through 7. Maybe 1 through 8, but I think it's issues 1 through 7. Really good stuff there. Okay, second issue I want to talk to you about, Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issue 6. Check that out. Another great story. This is actually 2 stories that are going on at the same time. Good stuff. This is called The Killing of Colonel Quantum. Now, Colonel Quantum was an old SHADE agent. Him and Frankenstein were doing work together in Vietnam back in the old days. You know, they were trying to win the war against Vietnam. Colonel Quantum is kind of like, just think about the Atom character of DC, or even, I wouldn't say like Dr. Manhattan, but that Atom character. I think that's the name of the character. I don't know. This somewhat has some Dr. Manhattan powers, you know, where he can grow big and destroy stuff, you know, at will. Kind of reminded me of that from Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. I never read Watchmen, just saw the movie, so. Great issue. Dr. Quantum's a big, like, orangish red guy. Of course, he can grow real big, see. What happens is, in this storyline, the SHADE has got things to believe that Colonel Quantum is back. Originally, Colonel Quantum back in Vietnam, the backstory was, they tell some backstory here before they go to Vietnam and study what's going on. But Colonel Quantum just quit S.H.I.E.L.D. because he was tired of the war. He didn't think it was a good thing to be having a war with Vietnam. Duh. And then, you know, so stuff like that. So he left, and, you know, of course, America lost Vietnam. Now, you know what I mean, in the storyline and in real life. But so what happens? There was people died. There was a big explosion in Vietnam that had the traces, the remnants. They thought it was Atom at first from DC Universe, but it was Colonel Quantum they discovered. So Frank and the creature commandos go out looking and, you know, trying to make sure everything's good. So we got our vampire guy, our wolfman guy, and our I think his name's Callus, Griffith, and Velcoro. That's their names. Velcoro the vampire, Griffith the wolfman, and I'm pretty sure it's Callus. Reminds me of that Carus, or, you know, one of the mummy movies from Universal. So they find him, and all he really wants is he just wants to die. He was going out to Vietnam. Colonel Quantum was going out to Vietnam to just blow himself up, and hopefully he would die, but he didn't. So S.H.A.D E gave Frankenstein a bullet to just destroy Colonel Quantum. So, you know, he shoots him, boom, he grows really big, like, oh my god, it's not working, he's going to blow again, but then he shrunk back down, and then he actually did die, and he thanked Frank for ending his misery. And that was the first part of the story. Now, during the story, what's going on, Ray Palmer, the scientist, and Father Time, you know, and who else is there? Nina, the underwater amphibian chick, and Lady Frankenstein. They're all back at S.H.A.D E headquarters. Something weird's going on. You know, at S.H.A.D E, they have all these humanids. They're called humanids. They're kind of like beings that only live for 24 hours. Then they die. Then they go recycle themselves and give energy to S.H.A.D E. And also they found out how to make them again off the same one. So it's kind of like a recycling plant for little slave robot beings, you know, or whatever. I don't know if they're robots. I think they're like organisms. But what happens is there's something that gets into one of them, and it says, hey, you know, it's like a virus that gets into the human, and it says, hey, you know, I don't like what's going on here, they're killing us. And then all the virus goes to each of the humanids. So guess what, fans? We now have a freaking takeover by all of these little worker bees in the big beehive, and they're going after the queen bee. They want to kick Father Time, Palmer, the other scientist, Frankenstein, all his creature commando, Lady Frankenstein, and Nina, the amphibian lady. They want to kick them all out and take over the ant farm, S.H.A.D E City, for themselves. So they're like, Frankenstein, get your ass back here. we need you. So they start all fighting inside. Frankenstein and them, the creature commandos, they're still in Vietnam. They got to get their butts back. And get this, guess who planted the little virus? Brother Eye, aka from issue 5, OMAC style. That was the plan, a diversion, if you will. And then they planted that virus, so they start screwing up stuff. So what happens? These people, they're messing all around in the ant farm. Well, there's a little section called the zoo. Think of it as like a little phantom zone, you know, or a little jail, or whatever. They keep the lethal bad guys, and their lethal bad guys are actually not bad guys per se, but bad experiments gone bad that Nina, the amphibian lady, was working on, and she couldn't control them, so they locked them up in this thing called the zoo. Well, the humanids opened the zoo up and let all these guys out. There was like 5 total. 4 of them, you know, came out and started causing destruction. So we were left off at 6 with those humanids getting out. Or no, the weird creatures, the reject creatures. This one, issue's called Rise of the Humanids. Same storyline. They're stopping all the humanids. Frankenstein and Griffith, Velcoro, and Callus are finally back. So they're having to stop these humanids. So they bust in. I mean, everyone's working together like clockwork. Father Time's even kicking some butt in there. Ray Palmer, we find out that he turns invisible and he whips up on some humanids. Lady Frankenstein is fighting some of the people in the zoo, the creatures in the zoo. Nina's helping her out. A lot of great action in this comic. This is another comic where our creature commandos, they get back to the ant farm. Lady Frankenstein's there fighting. Everyone's fighting to get these humanids under control, and the 4 creatures that bust out of the zoo, the freaks that weren't good enough to be creature commandos because they were crazy. So I want you to look at that cover. Just look at that cover really close. This cover, I mean, it looks pretty close to a Boris Karloff face. I don't know. It's just my interpretation. It's kind of like phosphorus looking. Really whitish, light yellow, really white. Look at that. I mean, it reminds me of a Boris Karloff type Frankenstein, possibly from The Bride of Frankenstein, where his head's kind of more, his hair's more like off because he burned down in the windmill in the first Frankenstein movie. Love this issue here. At the very end of this issue, I'm not going to go too much in this because this issue was just, they were laying the smackdown on all the humanids. They did kill all the humanids. Lady Frankenstein finished off the zoo animals, but get this, fans, very end of the story, Father Time said, oh, one of the workers there was all scared because one of the creatures got away that was locked up in the zoo, one of the most deadliest creatures. So Father Time says, Frank, we didn't want to tell you, we wanted to keep this from you, but one of the creatures that got away was known as the spawn of Frankenstein. That's right, fans. Frankenstein and Lady Frankenstein's son. Last page. I love those. I love those last pages. It's like, oh my God, I'm ready for the next issue. That leads us to the final issue that I'm going to be reviewing tonight in DC's New 52, Review Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issues 5 through 8. This is issue 8. Of course, we got there, Birth. It says Birth of a Monster. That's the cover. Now, this cover is when he was a little baby. See? This is the spawn of Frankenstein. This one was really cool. What we got in this issue was the spawn, the son of, it's kind of funny, son of Frankenstein, third movie with Boris Karloff in it. Oh God, it's so cool. I love this stuff. Yeah, so the son of Frankenstein, Lady Frankenstein, he goes to England. Guess where he goes? He goes back to where it all began for these two. He goes to Castle Frankenstein. I love the artwork of Castle Frankenstein. It's like steampunk looking graphics. I don't know, or like art. It just looks pretty cool, but it doesn't have a lot of robotic stuff, but it looks so futuristic, so modern for a castle, and like, when you think of castles, you think of this rundown things, but this castle still looked like it was pretty good, and I think they even had people working in there. Of course, the people that were working in there were killed by the spawn here. This issue was really great. It talks about the breakup between Frankenstein and Lady Frankenstein. I think the time period was around the Korean War, around 1959 or so. I think that was the time period in there. Father Time was in a cooler looking body, not that little girl body he's in right now. But it talked about how Frankenstein and Lady Frankenstein worked so hard and did so much for S.H.A.D.E. that S.H.A.D.E. took both of their jigsaw DNA, aka multiple DNAs from multiple bodies, Frankenstein, and they created a spawn of Frankenstein. And what happened was, so Frankenstein, the little baby, he all of a sudden wakes up when he shouldn't have woken up, busts through the glass, chomps down on Lady Frankenstein's neck. Frankenstein here thought that this little thing was trying to kill his wife, so he just gunned it down, headshot, boom, dead, like paka, in your face. And she was so pissed she never forgave him, and that's kind of how their breakup happened. Now that was the past. They get to the Castle Frankenstein, they see the bodies that he killed, and a fight ensues. And the Frankenstein, or the baby Frankenstein, which is not a baby anymore, he's kind of full grown, he's like, kill. So everyone's thinking, oh my God, this guy's just gonna kill us. There's no reasoning behind it. Big fight happens, and finally what happens is he says, kill me. So then they found out, okay, he just wants to die. He was made, he didn't ask for this life, S.H.A.D.E. made this creature. So in the end, Frankenstein and the son are fighting, and then all of a sudden Lady Frankenstein comes up from behind him and jabs him in the head with the sword, and the baby dies. She walks outside where the rest of the S.H.A.D.E. team is waiting, and she says she's done. She pulls out her implant. She leaves SHADE. She says, forget this. Y'all are on your own. Father Time says, no, you can't leave SHADE. Blah, 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 blah. And she says, you know, if anyone comes after her or tries to get her to join, she's going to kill them. So at the end, Lady Frankenstein left SHADE. And but another funny thing at the end, she actually kissed her husband, her estranged husband. So I thought that was kind of out of the blue. But you know, I think that originally she was, you know, like real sad because, you know, it's like she was excited to have that baby, right? But then, you know, Frank took her away, you know, pretty much SHADE took her, you know, all kinds of stuff happened. Baby dies, then SHADE, she finds out SHADE was keeping this secret for 40 plus years or whatever. I don't know if my math's right there. 59 to whatever today is, 2013 actually. And kind of just rubbed her the wrong way. So, you know, she had every right to quit the team. I mean, it seemed like there was a little bit of forgiveness between Lady Frankenstein to Frankenstein. So it looks like that relationship's okay, but she's off SHADE. So just another excellent 4 issues of Frankenstein Agent of SHADE. Let me hold up issue 5 again. That's where I started. OMAC. I mean, this whole storyline of 4 issues started with OMAC and Brother Eye putting that virus in, corrupting everything, screwing up everything, but then you find out a lot of like little backstory in there, all from this. I mean, this is just a great comic series. I mean, Jeff Lemire and Ponticelli, great team. So check that out, fans. Remember, the links are in the video description. If you're interested in Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, check out those comics. Order them, and the trade. I think the second trade is coming out in February or March, and I'll go back through these and add the second trade. It'll contain, I think, issues 8 through 16 plus issue 0, and then the first you get 1 through 7, I'm pretty sure. So fans, this has been another DC's New 52 review of Frankenstein Agent of SHADE, issues 5 through 8. You know, if you like these reviews, let me know how I'm doing. I like to review things in bulk, not just single issues. I mean, I love to review single issues. I mean, the videos would be a lot quicker. But I like doing, for books that I have that I just have not read, I like kind of doing them in spurts. Thank you to Sleepy Reader, who gave me the idea to start reading books in story arcs, not reading like 1 through 12 per se, but kind of read them in segments. So I'm also going to throw Sleepy Reader up there as well. He's another big-time Jeff Lemire fan, and I know he's read the Frankenstein Agent of SHADEs as well. So fans, let me know how I'm doing. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. This has been The Great Legend, coming at you live as always. Loving these DC New 52 reviews. Maybe down the line I may join that revolution and review some of the Marvel Now titles like I'm doing with the DC New 52, but, you know, make mine DC for now. This is The Great Legend saying peace out. God bless.